Hi, and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is Vlogs About Nothing. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy evening to join me. I really do appreciate it. As Montel Jordan just recently reminded me, it is Friday night, and this is how we do it. Super old song, you feel me? Not trying to be no cringe ball or nothing. I'm just saying I was only born in '87, and that song was popping off in like 91, 92. So you can imagine my 5-year-old self hearing that on the radio and just mind blown. You feel me? Restart mode. I hope that you guys have had a fun and eventful week, or fun and uneventful, or however you correspond fun to your whole experience in life. Truly, I hope that was the case for you. I had a pretty good week. It was really busy, it was pretty productive, and I'm in a pretty good place right now. Like me personally, just so it's all right. I'm feeling okay. Never ever, I guess, will I be out of medical debt, or moreover, will I ever be able to go to Vale again? Oh my God, I know. Privileged story alert. Yeah, I've been to Vale, I've been to Aspen, and how exactly do some of the things I just say relate to one another? We'll get to that, but let's start with talking about how there's a link in the description below, and it's this other really awesome video that talks about how the current Luis Mangione trial, no relation to Chuck Mangione, who is a cartoon folklore god so far as cartoon character created things have ever been, just because he's a reoccurring character in King of the Hill, and people like myself would never have even imagined knowing who this dude actually was, Chuck Mangione, because if not for the cartoon, other than just seeing a random vinyl LP pop up at the thrift store with some dude that just looks like the stereotypical, jazz bro. You feel me? Like this dude was like a jazz bro before jazz bro was a thing. You feel me? The whole hat, the whole hair, the whole ensemble. It was a character that to this day stands the test of time. So good for Chuck Mangione. Not so much for Luis Mangione. Now, jokes aside, you feel me? I've made it pretty publicly clear, and if you have not been watching this show for a long time, friendly reminder, I've been putting it on now every single night for well over a year, and it has been an experiment, with the exception of about 15 total calendar days, all of which were adamantly explained, and some of which were some real interesting stories for sure. There was the last summer part of my life where I got caught up for like 4 days. I guess it happens. I didn't know that I would get caught up for 4 days, but these are herein lie the benefits of being single, a complete loser, and having nothing going on in their life. It leaves it open for things to happen in their lives. I guess I would know because I'm specifically talking about myself. But anyways, I've gone out of my way to sort of like condemn in absolution the kind of behavior that was displayed as, like from the alleged culprit, in this case Luis Mangione. You'll never hear me advocate for violence in any kind of a way. Again, I get it. I understand that it's something that we want to do because it's something that's done to us. It's pretty reasonable to understand that very basic, fundamental human concept. I get it. But I just don't think that it's appropriate to handle these situations in a manner that just causes more death and destruction. You feel me? Because then, like, we literally never get anywhere other than, like, the constant rewriting of history, the burial of really cool things that can alter the course of the human history experience. I mean, I'm just saying that, like, there are some pretty impactful things that can happen to all of us collectively if we choose to seek out an eye for an eye kind of old school dumb way of thinking. You feel me? Again, that's just what it is. It's a dumb way to think. It's not a civilized way to think. I mean, I am a nerd after all, and I was a conflict mediator back in grade school. So, I'm pretty like anti-bully, and I'm pretty really pro trying to solve conflict. I had a vest and everything, a vest and a clipboard. Yeah, it was a thing, similar to maybe what you Xers know as being like a hall monitor and stuff, although it wasn't at all that sort of in a way. Although shout out to all the old school Xer hall monitors who made it their job in life to patrol the hallways of their local school just to make sure that everyone was where they needed to be. Hey, I'm not hating, you feel me? I mean, again, like, I think we at some point did have hall monitors, and if you were cool with the hall monitors, they were cool with you, you feel me? Just sort of like the modern day story of what will forever be known as, like, the parking meter maid, Like, if you keep it real and you keep it cool, you have a chance. The moment you open your mouth and say something stupid, the worse it's going to get for you, that kind of a thing. So, Luis Mangione committing the alleged crime that he has allegedly committed, is something that, again, I will never justify. There's no justification for it. Unfortunately, that's something that not any hundreds of millions of literal Americans all over the country, would relate to, because we're all victims of a healthcare system that profits from our literal extended lives via the support of paid for medication and or the lack thereof, but just enough to keep us alive to extract more money in this for-profit medical world. And that's not a good idea. It's clearly not a good idea for, hundreds of millions of people all over this country. I mean, I'd argue that it's not a good idea for any of the close to 400 million Americans that reside in this country, but hey, there's got to be at least 10,000 out of that 400 million that can afford appropriate health care. I'm just saying that, like, even that though, I mean, shout out to them 10,000 people that can afford it, live your best life, my friends. I'm just saying that, like, I think that there's 399,999,909, I don't know, a lot more people that could, benefit from a healthcare system that's robust and that promotes the longevity of one's health, and preventative health care, things that are not currently taught in medical school, unfortunately. And so again, like, the healthcare system in this country obviously sucks. Comparatively speaking, again, it's 2025 and we are only just one of at least, I think, maybe like three industrialized nations on the surface of this planet that still have some kind of archaic form of for-profit healthcare. So again, Luis Mangione has brought to the attention in a way that has not been good, but nonetheless has been a way of making it a discussion, like a discussion that needs to happen now, kind of a thing. Again, we can't give violence credit, and allegedly this crime has been committed, and again, I just think that as a people, we're not like the crazy, Lord of the Flies kind of mentality, and it's not like you see on the screen, and we don't ultimately root for people to commit heinous acts so that, again, the perpetuation of heinous acts can continue to be perpetuated. I mean, at some point it's got to end. And, nothing ended when this man committed this alleged crime. I mean, again, there may have been some backlash, but, unfortunately, and we discussed this in the video the day that it happened, all that was left were other victims, victims that were impacted by a man who was part of a group of people that was more or less loosely in charge of policy decision making at the behest of their contractual financial obligations and so forth. Again, it's sort of like it didn't make anything better. That's all that I'm saying, right? It may have made the topic more heated, but again, this isn't a topic that needs any more heat, right? I mean, again, because in the long run, his single-handedly selfish act We don't want to live in a world where any of us support public executions in broad daylight. Like seriously, like that's crazy. You feel me? That's just as crazy as supporting a country and or government and or any administration that would like us to continue to go down this path towards for-profit healthcare. They're crazy things to do, and they both must be stopped. One is not better than the other, and one, is not. It's just not good for any business. Not if it's capitalism, socialism. This is not good for our business, okay, guys? Ladies, gentlemen, they, them. So don't support that kind of violence, but moreover, continue to have the discussion that will inevitably lead to like real change in this country, which is from like a systemic change and an impactful, meaningful, immediate, drastic change, which is universal healthcare for all of us. Right? That's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. It's the way that it goes. Other countries have been doing this for a long time, and they have seen, like an increase in the health of their population, something that I just can't see any of us monsters being against. Like, why? We're not monsters, right? I mean, shout out to the Xers and boomers out there who may or may not have something to say about that. I'm just saying that, like, even from their point of view, however they may have experienced their younger parts of life, the world has changed. And now all of us deserve basic human health care, like for free. It's just the way that it works. Our country can afford it. It's not going to change anything at all in your own individual life, okay? Seriously, like, you're not going to have to pay for anything, nothing. I mean, I don't understand how people think that, like, it changes any part of their life. I don't, like, other than that, like, their neighbors and people that otherwise wouldn't have access to basic human services have access to basic health and human services and can live a better life. Like, if we don't support that very thought, then in fact I think we might unfortunately be monsters. And I don't want to be a monster. I hope that you don't want to be a monster. Other examples of corporate greed, moving on to the second part of tonight's video, are things that are on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Ski resorts, right? So there's currently a corporate takeover of ski resorts all over this country. And it's unfortunate because skiing historically can be affordable. It can be. Again, privileged talk here. I'm from the desert. Who are you kidding? I mean, only the rich kids from where I come from ever even like were able to afford skiing because it's pretty expensive even back in the day. But again, proportionate to income rate wise, it's actually even more expensive today, and only super wealthy people can afford to go skiing. Moreover, currently there is a huge takeover from just a small handful of companies like all over the country that are consolidating huge resort towns and turning them into these ultra rich, sort of really like plutocratic sort of themed places where the people that obviously, work there can't afford to live within anywhere like closer than an hour from the joint, similar to how we treat our low end and labor workers in places that are synonymous for resort living, like in parts of Florida that house all of the entertainment industry parks and so forth, and different parts in California where the same thing kind of exists. It sucks to have to work a low paying job in a place where there's so much wealth that you're not even you can't afford to live there. You can't afford to do anything other than work there. And again, that's some type of economic slavery, I would say. Like, even if you consent and choose to do that, you feel me? You may or may not choose to do that for a part of your life, given your own circumstance. Maybe you're single. Maybe you want to explore the world a little bit. Hey, we all make our own sacrifices. But, like, to fundamentally say that it's a good opportunity for anyone and everyone, just as, like, a functioning adult, to do anything remotely positive and or progressive in a positive way for their life, then like you'd be fooling them because it's simply not an opportunity for that. And until it is, we should continue having discussions that support like antitrust legislation that breaks up opportunities for corporations to destroy the very fabric of like ski towns, and the thought that if you just have like a bonus on your paycheck, you could go out and get a season pass and actually have a fun weekend with your friends on a mountain that's got fresh powder and, a nice mix of like, good snow and stuff. Like seriously, so fresh powder obviously meaning natural snow, and also like the fake stuff or whatever, but more like the real stuff than the fake stuff. Shout out to places like Aspen and Vail. I've spent some time in both of those places, beautiful places, obviously, really expensive places. I was stuck in Vail for 2 days one time because I couldn't find a bus. True story, it's hard to find buses in the middle of nowhere, but eventually a bus did arrive and I was able to be transported safely back to the valley in Phoenix, Arizona. So I'm not sure when exactly that happened, but it did happen, and that was a whole experience. So it just I even remember I walked to the Smiths there as I was like waiting in the bus stop after I got out of my tent because I was camping there, and I like it was a whole thing. I got stuck there. Don't ask me how. I've been stuck in worse places. I mean, Jesus Christ, being stuck in Vale isn't exactly the worst thing in the world. But when you have nothing and no way to get around, it could become a problem. So I'm happy that I was able to find a solution to that. But again, like it's something that we should be talking about because skiing and being on a mountain shouldn't be something that's unaffordable and inaccessible to people that want to experience that kind of experience, even if it is few and far between. We should all have an opportunity. I'm just saying. And again, this is coming from a desert boy. All right, I'm getting out of character. Hey, listen, I really appreciate all of you guys watching my videos and all the content that I put out and stuff. You feel me? Like, I really appreciate it. Each and every single night, I break out of character, to go so far as to not just be any more gray than I can possibly be between IRL Albert and character Albert. But nonetheless, you feel me? This is just like how I vibe, and this is just who I am, and I really enjoy talking to myself into a camera. I mean, I don't know, it's pretty cool. I'm the star of the show, as my roommate would say. Shout out to my roommate. Awesome person. I'm having a pretty good experience currently, like I said. I have a pretty good living situation. I'm thankful and I'm grateful for that. It's really the only good thing that I got going on for me in my entire life. So Jesus Christ. Just so it's cool. We have like 2.5 minutes left on the video and not much more else to tell y'all except that like what Luis Mangione did wasn't cool, and that healthcare needs to be reformed, obviously, and the ski resorts absolutely do suck. You feel me? Like, I mean, again, unless you have like a stack or a few stacks, you're not having a good time there, even for like a whole weekend. So it's pretty expensive. Things are pretty expensive, obviously. That's the story of all of our lives, each and every single day. Will there ever be a day where we talk about how things have become cheaper? Probably not. Not until the day that, we're not so capitalistic in nature. But what do I know? I'm just some random guy. But again, the channel, and I'm being super like my fan. Typically it doesn't go out, but it did, and I don't know how to work it, honestly. So when I'm done here, I'll figure out how to do that. So that's what I got going on. I'm planning on making a cake this weekend. That's what I want to do in my life tomorrow. And honestly, I IRL do look like the real like reincarnation of Speedy Gonzalez. Like I turned orange straight up. Like I feel bad for my skin. Like my body, my brain is like, look, dude, like you gotta like do a better job at like making sure that you don't burn your skin off, because like there's that whole thing called the sun in the sky, and it's a pretty powerful object. It's a pretty powerful thing. I know it's not an object. I think it's a planet. Is the sun considered a planet? I'm yes. That's a stupid question. Albert, you're a stupid man. Anyways, I mean, I guess if it's not, and that makes me more stupid, then I'm sorry for being stupid, and I'm sorry for sounding so stupid to myself, by myself, in front of my camera. This is the story of my life, ladies and gentlemen. They and them. I hope that you guys are doing really well. Honestly, I hope that you guys have a really good weekend. If you're out and about tonight, definitely be safe. You feel me? And I hope that everything is like as good as it could possibly be, and that's no cap. I really mean that. Who you talking to? You know, why wouldn't like that's like the whole point of my life. It's all that I care about. It's kind of sad. I wish I had other things to care about, but I hope you guys have a really good night. Okay, bye.